How can I keep my best employees like Tristan?
We all love Tristan, by the way, as well as his coworkers and peers. I mean, there are a lot of things that are just, common sense. It's salary, it's benefits, it's things like that. But there's a lot of culture stuff you can do as well. So, I think we found that with our most successful clients in keeping and retaining is that they build this culture of appreciation. Not just for the job you do, but it's for the effort you put forth and the engagement that you offer into the business. And how do you best do that, right? I mean, you got to find out, just like you would with your clients for your widget. You survey your employees. Hey, what's working? What's not working? Do you like these things? I mean, we're forever asking our employees, like, what things are we doing right? What things would you like to see done differently? And we listen, right? We make changes. We do things different today than we did 6 months ago. A lot of that driven by the voice of the employee. I think the real key to that is just making sure the employee feels heard, right? I mean, lots of
seen.
And seen. I mean, lots of businesses can, they hire up people and then they turn them loose and then it's like, okay, now go do what I hired you to do. But the reality of it is like, if you don't keep them engaged, someone is looking to engage them otherwise.
Right. You made the point before that it's very similar to marketing product to an end user or consumer. You have to continually market. You can't just hook them and then forget them. Mm-hmm. You have to let them know they're doing well. We've mentioned things before like ride-along videos or day in the life videos. Mm-hmm. The employees that are in those, this is special. Absolutely. Not everyone gets to be on TV like we do. This is wonderful. But it's a benefit, it's a bonus, it's an honor for them. It helps tell their stories and laud their achievements as well. Yep. And that has to be a continuous effort on the part of keeping people happy and engaged.
And I think too, talking about surveys, there's a lot of companies that we've talked to that they're doing the surveys, they're doing the right things, they're making the right efforts, but they don't have the engagement in the survey. So if you're gonna send out a survey, are you just sending an email saying, please fill out the survey? Or are you maybe having, I know in the past we've done a video where either the director of HR or the company president or whatever it is will make a really short video that says, this is why we're surveying. Like, we know your time's valuable, but this is why it's important. This is what we're going to do with it. Graphics are important as well. Do you have graphics up in the break room explaining about the survey and why it's important? So even the companies out there that are doing all the right things, a lot of times we're brought in just to help them drive engagement in those things.
Right. It's easy to get lost below the fold in a lot of communications. Like, I got the email, I wanted to respond, but I got busy, I went to a meeting, and then I forgot about it. Right. So to see the reminders around the office, to get personal messages from HR and or other folks at the workplace, it's all very important. It's a larger effort than just a one-off. And one great tactic, of course, is an internal newsletter. Mm-hmm. That can be distributed as a hard copy or an electronic version. And that's the sort of thing we've done for a lot of people. And that gives you an opportunity to share the news of the industry, share the news of how the business is doing, and also share personal accomplishments from the employees as well. Those are all just great to have in there. People love hearing their stories.
Oh, yes. And speaking of stories, we have many clients who are already doing so many wonderful things, like Employees of the Month, Employees of the Year, but their engagement with those programs is falling a little short. They're not having quite the impact that they hoped they'd have. So why not take it a step further? If you've got an Employee of the Month, Employee of the Quarter, make a short video about them. What's their development story? And this can be one of those hit stories that we talked about earlier that your recruiters can pull on too. But how did they get to where they are? What's their story? What have they accomplished? Awards have they won? But maybe also, and we have a great example of this for Kyle, it also shows who they are as a human. Like, what do they do in their spare time? Is it hiking? Is it taking care of farm animals? And yes, that's a real thing for more than one of our team members. But those employee spotlight videos, I feel like they're multi-purpose, but they really take that kind of Employee of the Month idea a little bit further.
Yeah, I think a good example of that, we had a big corporate client. One of their employees for Black History Month, this person had basically built a museum of all notable African American history. And these were things from people who appeared on Wheaties boxes to all sorts of things. They had this memorabilia collection that was expansive. And they even went to the extent of allowing that person to basically bring in part of their collection, displayed in the cafeteria for Black History Month, and hired us to do an interview with this individual and kind of tell that story. And back to John's point, I mean, Do you know how much impact that had on that individual who had been there for a number of decades, but getting recognition, not necessarily the job he'd done for them, which was great, obviously, because he'd been there for many years, but was also like, this is something that he was personally valuable to him, that the company then said, hey, if it's important to you, it's important to us, and we think other people should know about it.
And other people heard that message.
Other people
What
heard that
is
message.
important. So maybe I'm not that employee, but I'm an employee now of this company, and it's kind of been further emphasized to me how much this company cares about their employees on the personal side.
Right? The whole person,
Right.
not just
whole
who
person.
shows up for the 9 to 5 or
Right.
whatever the timing may be.
The whole person, you know what else that makes me think of is wellness programs. We've actually played a very significant part in building wellness programs. So not just marketing them, but coming up with curriculum, resources, ideas for classes and things of that nature. But when it comes to the marketing side of it, wellness programs are pretty popular now. But again, it goes back to the survey idea. You can have the wellness program, you can do the survey, but how many people are actually engaging with it? So bringing in video and wall graphics, you talked about that from a recruitment perspective, but do your wall graphics help promote your wellness program? Because wellness programs can be very costly, and the last thing you want to do is put in all this money and all this effort and no one participates. So if you're gonna, one of our clients has a fitness app and they want to, drive engagement, well, they now have posters up in the break room to drive engagement, and they created videos so that folks could get to know the personal trainer more on a personal level of who provides it. So adding that support, and we even had a client who wanted to do a cooking class for their wellness program to talk about a healthy dish, and I don't remember the reason, but for some reason at the last moment they couldn't show up, and we had one of our employees stand in and lead the cooking class, and it went terrific. So we're all in when it comes to that kind of stuff, but just reinforcing that idea of many companies out there are doing all the right things, but adding that marketing creative mind to it can help you really drive more interest and engagement in the things that you're doing.
I think the other critical role we played was the strategy behind it. It was like that client wanted to do that, but wasn't completely sure how to do that. So we integrated with their HR and then with our creatives, and we came up with kind of a strategic plan on how do you roll that out. And there's everything from websites to posters to graphics to incentives to apps to personal trainers. So
We actually came up with a brand name and logo for
Brand
one
name and
client
logo.
for their wellness program.
yeah, so it was marketed as almost a separate entity of the business, but it was also marketed as a benefit and a perk for those employees. And so how do you engage them, to Leah's point? How do you engage them in that wellness? How do you get them to go to the gym? How do you get them to download the app? And that's a lot of where the strategy comes in. It's like, it's again, selling a product, selling the service to that client, which is your employee.
Continuous efforts.
Yep.
Continue the marketing. Right? And so many people can sniff out something that's inauthentic.
Right.
If you get a discount on your group rate insurance because you have a wellness program, so you check that box and then nobody ever engages with it, that is of value to no one. So keep engaged, keep the value building. And to the point that you were making a moment ago about that fitness app, one of the things that I thought was so fun about that too is there was a gamification component. Again, how do you get people to play? Some people like to compete, How many days is your streak? How often have you been there? How many pounds did you lift? There's all kinds of metrics within that people are comparing themselves to, and there's a lot of enthusiasm and fun around the office for them because people are competing in that way.
I think about some of our clients who have TVs up throughout multiple branches and locations, and that's where we create a quick graphic to say who is leading the steps challenge or whatever it is. So utilizing technology as well is a good way to reinforce those.